masculine vulnerability and some experiences that I had this weekend with Desire on Fire. Hi, my name is Zach. I am a recovering man-child and invisible labor educator. I talk about mental load, domestic labor, and a lot of things going on in my relationship that I'm working on to improve my ability to understand, appreciate my wife, as well as have better conversations in that. And that brings me to this past weekend. I was a part of a course that my wife is taking with Desire on Fire. I'm happy to link them in the notes here. She's been taking pleasure mastery with them for the past 15 months. She's done their full, I think, 4-month program. They had 2 in-person events. One she did over Zoom. She couldn't quite bring herself to go in person, be that far from our young child. And then the second one she did go in person was the first time she spent time away. She did their advanced course in November, much smaller group, about 25 women, I believe, and recently did another weekend with them this past weekend. And what I've found is that we continuously get more and more value out of these programs, and I got to be a part of that. There's a male portion to it. So Desire on Fire is for women, by women. Amy Batuski and Ellie Montgomery, they have a podcast I got to be on back in 2022. It was really cool. They're doing some really amazing work. But I more importantly wanted to share some of the work that I did with Michael Bates, is one of the coaches that they work alongside of. Sounds like they're going to be creating a brother company to go along with Desire on Fire in the coming months. What we did was we had two sessions. The women had been in there all of Friday, most of Saturday, until we joined them, and then they just had one this past Sunday as well. So there's 3 days for them. For us, we had 2 sessions, 3 hours in the afternoon, 3 hours at night. The first 3 hours were with other men. There were 93 of us, I believe, and we were all in one large room. And to put it really short and bluntly, we did a ton of eye gazing and being with exercise. If you've ever done this before, it is, for the most part, gazing into each other's eyes. Gazing almost doesn't feel like the right word. It's a bit more intentional than that almost, but we chose the left eye to stare at, so we had a point of focus. My personal experience was that I found myself really intimately close with these men that I didn't know. I knew one of them going into the weekend, and I didn't know him very well, and found myself feeling a lot of kindness and compassion for the men that I was doing these exercises with. I think we had maybe somewhere under 10 different partners that were somewhat random, and we would be with them, maybe a couple of feet away from each other, and did a series of different exercises where we were invited to breathe kind of alongside them, kind of get in tune with each other, as well as once we had kind of felt, been with them for a couple minutes, like tell them the thing that they need to hear and just try to tune into like our inner knowing. Some of this is still kind of woo-woo to me, but, it felt extremely powerful. Hearing some of the things that they felt I needed to hear, hearing some of the things that came out of my mouth that I ended up telling them, was inspiring. Found myself tearing up a good amount. I feel like it's pretty rare in this world that we get really intimate with the men in our lives, from men to men. When I say intimate, I'm not talking at all about, sex at all. It's being able to see the human across from you, versus, I think, the man that we might feel like we are competing with when we step in a room. I think I have a tendency to, I'm pretty tall, I'm 6'5". When I walk in a room, I can't help but notice my body, my brain goes straight up to sizing up. How do I compare up against these other guys? I don't know how much that is in our culture versus like ingrained in us humans or in men. Um, but I think myself, and I think a lot of you guys would agree, we're really able to put down some of that armor, some of that like that comparative competitiveness, and really able to see the human behind the mask, sort of. So it was really cool to be a part of that experience. I think we're in a desert of men that can be with each other and communicate with each other and talk with each other to talk, rather than coming over to watch a football game or call each other just to check in and hear how we're doing, rather than, you know, doing a round of golf. I've heard recently that a lot of guys are spending time with each other around activities rather than because they want to see and hear and listen to each other. And so I think it's kind of inspired me. I am looking forward to calling more of the men in my life in the near future, and just sharing my kind of love with them, share my ears with them, share my heart with them. It's really scary saying that out loud, honestly. It's odd how scary. I feel like that shouldn't feel or sound scary, but it does. So that was the majority of the first part. A lot of, it wasn't that crazy. I just thought there was, even like the concepts that were sort of sharing with us, it was offered like to look at our heart versus our sword energy, which I think, I just felt more like masculine, feminine, like soft versus hard, or like hunter versus gatherer. Some of the words used were like polarities. And it was just interesting kind of noticing, like, were we more in tune with our feminine? We needed a little more masculine. Were we a little softer? We need a little more aggression. Were we a little too aggressive? Needed to be a little softer. I think put into less jargony terms, sort of. It was really cool seeing some of the men erupt with, I think, the beauty that kind of sits inside them within that. Along with that, so that was the first part, and then the second part was with the women, and we walk in, and they've had their weekend. They've been bonding for the past 36 hours prior, not 100% of those 36 hours, but we walk in, and my partner Alyssa was in there, along with I think a lot of the other guys had their partners, girlfriends, wives on the other side. As we stepped in there and started doing some of the exercises, there's a lot of continued like looking into the other person's left eye and holding space for them and being with them. And some of the exercises I really liked, and I feel like there's so much of this that could be done in small groups. I think the challenge that Desire and Fire did really good was creating a safe space for both sides. I think Michael did a really good job with us creating like a vibration almost, that we were able to be on a certain level that we could receive some of the challenging communications we had to receive from the women, as well as be the kind and knowing hearts that are inside of us and need to be kind of unlocked. But some of the prompts that I thought were really powerful, that you could easily take this to a small group of men or women that want to be intimate with each other without being sexual. After there was looking into each other's eyes, we were invited to tell that person what they needed to hear, as well as like sometimes it was nonverbal, and it was like offer what this person needs to feel. And at one point, one of the women that I was matched up with, the statement that was made was that either side really craves the admiration of the other side. And so she just kind of felt with her intuition. She put her hand on her own heart and put her other hand on my chest, and I found myself I don't know about bawling my eyes out, but really, really choked up and crying. I think a lot of those moments I felt as though it wasn't necessarily my wife that I was talking to, but like women in plural, like as a whole, which was really, really beautiful, experiencing like acceptance and admiration from the collective of women in the world, almost with one interaction. Almost, it feels kind of odd to describe, but that was the experience there. I think that's what brought me to tears. Similarly, there was another one that I think it was really challenging. I think for a lot of people it would be really challenging. I didn't find it super hard, but I found it insanely inspiring. Was we were invited, us and the other partner switched, to hold the space of, so like I was told to sort of be an avatar of a man for the woman standing across from me, and their invitation was to complete a communication that they needed to from another man in their life, whether it be their dad, their brother, their fiance, their ex-fiance, their ex-husband, maybe someone that was dead or someone that had abused them. And I think a lot of us, you could hear it, there were 180 of us in one room. They really let us have it. They really let those people have it and shared the communications that they needed to, that they had been withholding and needed to let out. And we got a lot of feedback. I think that it was an extremely healing process for so many of them to speak what they needed to speak for those people, and let out those withholds that they had. I kind of struggled with mine, honestly. I think there's still some shame embedded in what I want to talk about. Certainly not open right now to sharing that in public with a bunch of strangers on the internet. I'm still working through on that one, but yeah, someone spoke to me, an ex-partner that had kind of walked out on them. They really got it all out, and she gave me the feedback later that it was kind of hard because I had kind of kind eyes, kind of looking back at her, really trying to have her feel heard, and she kept finding herself being like, "Oh, he's so kind, I don't want to do this to him," and then like she'd go back into it. So I don't know, it was just, I felt honored with the experience of them feeling like I was safe enough to attempt that communication with. Really powerful exercises. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Alyssa and I have grown significantly from doing Desire on Fire courses so far. That was the only one that I've done with them, but Alyssa has done a couple. So yeah, I'm going to put a link to their website. They're working on building the brother company that I will likely be taking some of their courses in the near future. Some good shit. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to delivering another one of these next week.